प्रधानमंत्री जी की अपेक्षा के अनुसार मैं काम करने की कोशिश करूँगा।
I thank Honorable Prime Minister for giving me this huge opportunity to serve the nation. He has a great vision. That vision, my responsibility is to implement that vision.
You can battle anything out, and for battling anything out, all you need is a focus.
Hello everyone, you're watching News Epicenter with me Marya Shakil, where I'm coming to you live from Vijay Chowk in the national capital, right a day after the major political earthquake that has come from the government. We are not talking about the four portfolios of the Raisina Hills because the CCS remains intact. There has been no change whatsoever as far as the four top ministers are concerned. That is the Home Minister, the Defence Minister, the Finance Minister and the External Affairs Minister. But there has been a complete overhaul otherwise. 77 ministers plus the Prime Minister, 43 new faces and old faces have been sown in only yesterday. There are multiple messages that are coming in from this one. It's about accommodating allies. It's about sending a message of inclusivity. It's about sending a message of representation of each and every region. It's about sending a message of administrative experience and also increasing the strength of women. Let's give you a sense first of the new inductee as far as the new Council of Ministers is concerned. The big entry certainly is in the IT, Railways and Communication Department, which is Ashwini Vaishnav. He is a bureaucrat turned politician from the state of Odisha. Jyotiraditya Scindia, former Team Rahul member, now Prime Minister Narendra Modi team member, he has been made the Civil Aviation Minister. Mansukh Mandaviya has been made the new Health Minister. Hardeep Singh Puri has been promoted to the Petroleum, Natural Gas and retains the Urban Development portfolio. Another promotion is, and this is a big one, of Anurag Singh Thakur, who is now the INB and Sports Minister. Ahead of the reshuffle, 12 ministers resign, and among them, the big names are IT Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad, Health Minister Harsh Vardhan, Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar, Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank and Labour Minister Santosh Gangwar. Another major highlight of this rejig is the inclusion of more women. The strength has moved from 6 in the previous term to 11, the highest number of women ministers in the union government since 2004. And among the prominent ministers are Anupriya Patel, the Member of Parliament from Mirzapur in Uttar Pradesh, who belongs to the BJP ally, Apna Dal. Another names are Shobha Karanjale, she is MP from Udupi, and three-term MP Darshana Vikram Jardosh. Over the next half hour, we'll bring you the key takeaways of this cabinet reshuffle, which all but points to a fact that there has been a complete reboot, bringing in talent and diversity, with the Prime Minister sending a strong message of perform or perish. So has the Prime Minister fixed accountability while pressing reset in this total overhaul in the Council of Ministers? Let me bring in my guests and let's analyze and decode this massive earthquake that has happened in the national capital. Sunil Alag, business and brand consultant. Dr. Amiben Yagnik is Member of Parliament of the Congress Party. Tuhin Sinha representing the BJP. Radhika Ramaseshan, columnist. Saket Mishra, economist. Radhika Ramaseshan, I'm going to begin with you. Has the Prime Minister said that accountability will be fixed? Be it Dr. Harsh Vardhan, who was leading in many ways the fronting, I would say, of the entire COVID management in first wave and mismanagement also during the second wave, or Ravi Shankar Prasad, or the communication going wrong perhaps under Prakash Javadekar. Is this accountability being fixed and also course correction by the Prime Minister?
Definitely, I would call it fixing of accountability, though there is a view that because of the excessive centralization of authority, the repository of power is contained in one or two power centers. It is probably unfair to make scapegoats. But you know, in every government, the repository of power rests in one or two places. But if there is a major disaster or the government's making, there is always an attempt to fix accountability. It has to be fixed. It has been done in the past, and I'm glad that the precedent has been adhered to. Let's take the example of Harshvardhan. He was the health minister. There are no two ways about it. No doubt he was part of a much larger infrastructure and ecosystem, if you please, but at the end of the day, the political executive has to take the rap. It can't be the director of, the medical institute or somebody from Niti Aayog who's kind of managing health and so on. It has to be the minister. If, for instance, there is a railway accident, you cannot blame the railway secretary or the railway board chairman or whatever. The minister has to take the rap, and I'm glad that in this case, accountability has been fixed. Similarly, if you take the IT, if you take,
so you're talking about, you talked about specifically about the health minister here. I'm going to shift focus now to someone who's right here, very close by, in fact, in the Rail Bhavan, the new entrant in the Rail Bhavan. Saket, come in on this. Bureaucrat turned politician, someone who comes with a background, education background of Wharton, and has worked in various, private sector companies as well. This is a portfolio once upon a time was with regional satraps, from Lalu Yadav to Nitish Kumar to Mamata Banerjee. Now, under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, we have seen likes of Piyush Goyal and others. This is in many ways number 5 portfolio in terms of hierarchy coming after the Raisina Hills. And here you are seeing an IAS, a former IAS in charge of it, and he gets a double promotion or triple promotion. Along with that comes IT and communication. Is this also an acceptance by the government that there is talent deficit? Sunil Arak, please respond.
Look, towards the end of the first term, he had Arun Jaitley, he had Sushma Swaraj, he had Parikar. They were all very bold and they were very good ministers. They all died in the same year. Now he's given an opportunity for another 2 years for the existing ministers to perform, but he's looking for people who are either legally and they are qualified, they are young, they want to achieve, and therefore now he's got 2.5 years left. There are 2 pillars that you have to keep in mind always. One is, of course, getting elected, and the other is, of course, the nation. And he's tried to do a blend of both, because if you take a look at all the ministers of state, and if he's got 77, the maximum you could have had was 81, he's got everybody in. But the top 5 or 6 which industry is going to look at is there. Like, look, if you take a look at Anurag, I mean, he's a brilliant speaker. He's gone into INB, he's BCCI, he's handled sports, he's been put there. And look at the first meeting that they've had today is to communicate everything that the cabinet is doing. And this was lacking earlier. And therefore, Ashwini Vaishnav, in Railway Minister, he's got the full background. The important ones are the ones that one has to look at and look at how bold they are. Now, Javadekar was a wonderful gentleman, if you ask me, but maybe he was not bold enough. I have no idea what his plans are or what the Prime Minister has in store for him, because it had nothing to do with his performance. But perhaps he's looking for young blood. He's looking for bolder people. He's looking for people who will perform. And for them, it's an opportunity. The younger generation are looking upon it as an opportunity to work for the government. And that you have to keep in mind. Look, the IT Minister has come out today. Now, this is the first time in my life that I've seen the IT Minister saying, this is what the cabinet has decided. This is the Agriculture Minister has come on. Everybody is now ready to speak. So he's put the hands and he's put down and he said, look, now everybody has to perform now. That's what he's looking at.
Okay.
That's what I feel, but
Saket,
it could be anybody.
Come in on this. The question, yes. While we look at the portfolios which are largely driving the economy or which are very key in terms of job creation, what has happened in terms of clubbing off or ensuring greater synergy with textile and commerce, both coming under Piyush Goyal. Do you think this clubbing of ministries that have happened, for example, Mansukh Mandaviya is the head of all 3 ministries, not just health ministry, but also fertilizer and chemical. How are you viewing these clubbing of ministries that has happened, and what do you think could be the rationale behind, particularly one thing that I'm very curious about, petroleum and urban development coming together?
Look, I think, can you all hear me now? I hope. Can you hear me now? Okay, Look, I think
Yes.
it's not necessarily clubbing people together. I think it comes down more from there is obviously some amount of synergy between the departments that have been brought in together, but I think it comes down more to the skill sets that the specific minister has. Take the example of Mr. Hardeep Puri in urban development and energy. I mean, he has massive experience in the external affairs sector, where he has dealt with OPEC nations extensively, and I think that's one of the most important pieces of the puzzle in terms of economy as we look forward to perhaps rising energy prices. So I don't think it's necessarily about clubbing people together. There are obvious synergies, but I think it has more to do with the fact of people who've got the experience. And I think the other piece that's really important is that if you look at this ministry today, Marya, it's people who, in addition to succeeding in politics, have actually got proven street creds. These are guys who have succeeded in whether it's law, whether it's bureaucracy, whether it's private sector. People have done well and proven themselves, and that's what they expect to translate into as they come into the ministry.
Okay, Dr. Amiben Yagnik, here is the government saying that there were mistakes that were made, but they are ensuring that there is course correction. Why should the opposition, in fact, not compliment the government that even though it is midway, midterm, they have realized where it went wrong and they have ensured course correction? Shouldn't you be complimenting them rather than, you know, nitpicking as to what they did wrong, what did they do right?
No, of course, we congratulate all the new ministers that have come, but I don't think so it is a course correction, because we don't have a categorical statement that, well, some of them were made to forcibly resign and then some were inducted, and this is a course correction, because the Honorable Prime Minister has been giving direct instructions to the ministers who were erstwhile there and who are not now the ministers. So I am a little skeptical that all these new ministers, though they are given all these wonderful portfolios, they are all talented, will they be able to work independently without taking direct orders? Will they have some kind of an independent thinking? Will they perform? Will they do the service to the people of this country, or just follow what the Honorable Prime Minister has to say? That is where there is a little skepticism, because we are right now at a stage in the nation that the economy is practically down. People have just come out of the COVID stage.
Is the head of the cabinet, then what is wrong in ministers following what he is asking them to, and at the same time communicating what they think is right?
Yes.
It's of course a communication, it's a dialogue.
Yes, then
that
I
happens.
think
because even as we speak, the cabinet meeting is over and the Council of Ministers meeting is on.
I am completely in agreement with you that the Honorable Prime Minister is the head of the cabinet. But well, I think if all the ministers who have been out and you think that there is a course correction, then the Honorable Prime Minister also have to take some responsibility that, well, yes, they did not follow and I also did not follow their performance. So you cannot have blow hot and blow cold at the same time. So what I am trying to say is that whether these new ministers, all of them are great, all of them are talented, are they going to perform?
When several ministers from his Council of Ministers had put in their papers because of corruption charges, did Dr. Manmohan Singh resign then? He did not.
No, it is.
The accountability was fixed with respective ministers.
No, there is not a. Yeah, but there is no point of bringing comparisons right now. Here is a complete rejig of new ministers. You are talking about less government, more governance.
Yes.
So one point of time you give one slogan and now you give an expansion, but you say that, well, they are out here because they are going to perform well. Okay. I think there are no parameters given out that why and who old ministers did not perform.
Okay. So Inzina, what she is saying, what Amiben Yagnik is saying is that there should be clarity as to why these 12 ministers were asked to exit.
You know, you need to realize that in BJP, there is a seamless synergy between the organization and the government. So in 2003, if you recall, when Vajpayee ji was the Prime Minister, two of the brightest young faces then, Arun Jaitley ji and Pramod Mahajan ji, were taken out from the ministry and assigned very insignificant roles in the party in the lead up to 2004. So it's not as if the 11 ministers will not be given new responsibilities, but it's a process. Now, the Congress will not understand it because in 2008, we have seen that Shivraj Patil has presided over the worst bomb blast and yet he managed to stay in office. So the Congress does not believe in accountability. The Congress does not believe in replacing and infusing new blood, which is why Jyotiraditya Scindia ji today is a part of the BJP ministry. So I don't think it is about performance. It's a general review. We infuse new blood and look at how massively representational this government is. 11 women ministers, which is unprecedented. 5 ministers from the Northeast, 2 important portfolios to the Northeast, law and shipping. So I think, the Congress just doesn't realize that this is the most optimal merger between talent, capability and inclusiveness, which has not been achieved ever before.
Okay. Okay, Radhika, take that forward. Has Prime Minister succeeded in ensuring that as far as the messaging is concerned, it's also about regional representation, not just big states and small states from Tripura to Tamil Nadu, from northeast to other parts of India. They have ensured that even within bigger states, the smaller regions are represented. So will you say that this is a pan-India Council of Ministers?
Absolutely. It's very important for the BJP to effect something of this kind because it needs to register and re-register its pan-Indian presence. The presence is lacking in the south. But then they've given a leg up to Kishan Reddy, who's from Telangana and who I see as the emerging face of Telangana for the BJP. Then you have Tamil Nadu. I mean, they brought the BJP president, who's a Dalit, Murugan, as a minister. So that's some kind of a gesture towards Tamil Nadu. Now, Maharashtra is a very important case study where they have represented all the regions, whether it's Marathwada, Khandesh, Thane, Konkan, everybody, and all castes. It's not just about one or two castes. Karnataka. Now they've taken this Dalit MP from Chitradurga, who probably many people are not even familiar with his name, but that doesn't matter. I mean, you don't need to be familiar with each and every name. They will become familiar. And you have a Vocaliga in Shobha Karlanje, a young Vocaliga, in place of Sadanand Gowda. So you have demography, you have...
So Radhika, will you be saying that the Prime Minister has also looked at new catchments area going into 2024. For example, the representation from Odisha has increased. It's not just Dharmendra Pradhan, you have another heavyweight portfolio being given to a newbie here, in Ashwini Vaishnav. Then you have another representation. Then the increased representation from Bengal. You talked about Tamil Nadu, you talked about Telangana. So these are new places where the BJP will be hoping to make inroads and perhaps expand their footprints because they need, MPs from there if they were to return to power in 2024.
Yeah, the BJP is looking at the East as a, concerted bloc, as the sunrise sector. And the BJP has already established its presence in West Bengal. Forget whether they faced a reversal or not, but it's a creditable showing for a party in the assembly election. Now, Odisha, yes, of course, Mr. Vaishnav is an Odisha cadre officer, but he's not strictly an Odia in that sense. Doesn't matter. So he represents Odisha in the Rajya Sabha. Of course, you have Dharmendra Pradhan and you have an MOS. But I think in the coming days, the BJP is going to invest much more in Odisha, where there is a formidable challenger, low-key, in Naveen Patnaik.
Yes, so they are seeing that as an area where they can make possible gains. A quick response from you, Tuhin Sinha. Will this be followed by also a possible organization reshuffle? Because there are 5 positions in the BJP parliamentary board which is also vacant.
Well, absolutely. I think, I completely agree with my previous panelist. Even within the large states, extreme care has been taken to ensure that, people from all parts of the state have been represented. So whether it is Konkan in Maharashtra, whether it is Bundelkhand in Uttar Pradesh, so this kind of detailing has been unprecedented. And yet, like I mentioned, there is a seamless synergy between our organization and the government. So some of the spaces, some of the positions which have become vacant now in the party because of people joining the government will obviously be filled in due course.
Okay. Okay. Dr. Ammiben Yagnik, the government is sending a message this time around that the talent deficit that you keep talking about is also being addressed. It may be through lateral entries, but they have also ensured that in terms of administrative experience, in terms of the professional backgrounds, there are LLBs, doctors, PhDs, MBAs as well. So that concern of the opposition has also been addressed this time around.
Yes, I think
Or should I say
the
criticism?
opposition would not be talking about this because that, the schemes and the policies were not being implemented. The ministers were not being able to draft their own schemes or bring forth new ideas. It was always the Honorable Prime Minister's mandate or his vision which was being told to the ministers to implement. And so, well, if he has brought all these wonderful talent, we do expect that they will work for the people of this country. But let's not forget that there is appeasement.
Okay.
There are people who have been accommodated, who have helped in maintaining the power in different states. If you talk about, somebody talked about where we should not forget how Madhya Pradesh, a democratically elected government, was brought down and that the same person is rewarded. So there's a removing, there's a replacement, there's a rewarding, and also the states of UP and Gujarat who are going to have elections in 2022. Why suddenly there were Gujarat?
But ma'am, why blame the BJP if you do not have your own house in order? You know, yes, fine, ma'am, but why blame the BJP if you don't have your own house in order?
Talking
No,
about
since you specifically pointed out at Jyotiraditya Scindia and he joining the government is what I'm referring to. Let me give the final words to Sunil Alagh and Saket Mishra. I'm going to begin with you, Sunil. 30 seconds to you. What will you be watching out for, particularly in the ministries which have to do with economy and policy and finance in the next few weeks? What do you think will be that element that is needed perhaps at this juncture?
You know, I'll be looking out at the petroleum ministry because the petrol prices are going up and Hardeep Singh Puri is the right guy to deal with it. I'll be looking out for health. This gentleman from Gujarat, whom I'm meeting for the first time, has done a brilliant job in Gujarat on managing COVID. Fine. He's changing everybody, and in the finance ministry, he's not changed the finance minister, but the Minister of State for Finance has been changed. I don't know what new plans is going to come up. I've also seen railways. The railways minister has already come out and said, look, till the last man, he's decided on the poorest person in India must feel it. And that's the only reason for being elected. So as far as I'm concerned, whether it's finance, whether it's petroleum, whether it's anything, the common man is going to be looked after. And for me, these are the most important ministries where employment and inflation is going to be looked at very seriously.
Yes, employment generation is very, very important because that is what the government faces, a big challenge on the job front. Whether they have been able to generate enough employment, and particularly in post-pandemic era, that will be a challenge going forward. Saket.
I completely agree with you, Marya. I think there will be just two things that I look for. One is execution, because I think that's been the one place where post-COVID world we need a different level, quick execution, quick policy making, quick decisions. Along with that, we need serious coordination between ministries, because in order for us to recover from COVID, generate employment, get the economy going again, it has to be multiple ministry. It can't be, law ministry doing one thing and while the Ministry of Finance does something else. They need to get on board the same platform. Hopefully this is a council that actually provides that, and we get the job done.
All right. Thank you so much to all the guests who have joined me on this discussion this evening, trying to decode the new team of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This remains our top focus here on CNN News 18. That's all from me. Thanks so much for watching.